Hey everybody, Wave 3 News meteorologist Brian Good here with the latest updates on Snow Talk. And let's talk about the cold weather, and then we'll get into the sloppy looks of the models here as we head down the road. 28 right now, some spots, 6 to as much as 15 degrees below zero north of Louisville. Those spots picked up the most snow from the weekend system. A lot of us saw rain and freezing rain. It was our northern counties that got fresh snow cover, and that allowed you guys to really drop dramatically this morning. But here in the city, 11 was the low temperature for our area. 28 right now. We still have a chance here in Louisville to get very close to 32 the next couple of hours, but overall everybody will be below freezing for the afternoon. All right, let's talk about what's on the map here. Here's a look at the visible satellite from space, and you can see the snowpack still on the ground here. Now the skies have cleared out overhead. One system now moving east off the Carolina coast at the moment. Had a little bit of ice reported there on the Ravenel Bridge in Charleston, in fact, not too long ago. As we look broader, here is our next system for this afternoon and tonight, really for tonight. It's a little wave that'll dive down here with some clouds toward the nighttime period, and then after midnight, it may squeeze out a few flurries, but the best moisture with this is going to aim itself more into this direction. And so north and east has a better chance to see a few flurries out of this. Doesn't look to be a big deal, but if you see flakes flying later on, just don't be too surprised. All right, now we head to the southwest. This is our next system we're going to be tracking here. It's slowly working its way out of the Four Corners, which is not that unusual. Doesn't have much of a push yet until it gets to Texas, and then it catches a ride and really picks up speed. The debates on the models, we've been talking about this past several days, is for the low to trend. The surface low itself will likely hug along the coast. In fact, let me draw this a little better. It may hug along the coast here into southern Georgia and then head offshore. It's the upper low, which is northwest of that, where we usually see the deformation band, that has been trending a little more to the north and west. And that has been placing areas to our south and a better spot here to maybe pick up some snow out of the system as it moves off to our south and east. This would be later on Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. It's being highly influenced by another wave that's just now showing up here near Calgary in Canada. It'll drop down as we head into tomorrow and into Wednesday itself. It'll have some influence into it. A lot of you can ask, hey, is this going to phase together? I don't see this really phasing. If anything, the system, what it will do is absorb a lot of the energy out of this wave completely, and it kind of just disappears, and it looks like it phases because it kind of just merges into one, basically. So I guess technically you can call that phasing, but it mainly is just stealing the energy away from the sky to where when it gets to us, it really doesn't have a lot of energy to produce a lot of snow. The give and take for that, though, would be the idea that a better chance for accumulations for our southern counties. And could it go all the way to Louisville? Possible. I do think it has a limit on how far it can go, but there is a chance, so that's something we'll watch because we still have plenty of time to see the models trend north, and they've done that all season long. Let me show you the latest NAM, which picks it out. You see how Thursday morning after midnight, in fact, it's picking up on the glancing blow of some snow in our southern counties, Greene, Taylor, Adair, maybe even Marion and Washington. The trend has been north and west, slowly about a half a county each model run. So we'll see if it keeps going up toward E-Town and maybe even Shelbyville in future runs. We'll see if that happens the next 24 hours. But right now, it's a higher threat for our far southern counties. And then, the second wave gets absorbed so much. There's not much moisture with this on Thursday. In fact, we could warm up enough that if there's any moisture here in the southern part, it may actually be more of a mix and maybe some rain more than snow. So temperature is crucial there on Thursday before we really see the cold plunge work its way in, and that will not likely happen until after sunset Thursday. It's early on Friday. And because of all this shaking and moving going on, I don't know really if we're going to get to record levels or not here on Friday. I mean, yeah, the record is 1 here in Louisville. Models are aiming more toward 13, which very well could happen. The models are too cold this morning. We were aiming for 12 here in the city. We hit 11, and because we were trying to factor in the idea that they've been running a little too cold for the urban areas. But we want to roll out some records. Maybe the record high potential in the afternoon on Friday could be met. The record cool high for Friday in Louisville is 20. That'll be a struggle the way it's looking. But either way, it's not really the records. I mean, yeah, the records are always a big deal. But I think the bigger deal is the fact how far from normal we are later this week, when highs should be around 50, if not higher than 50, and we're only talking about 20 for a high. That's significant. Okay, when it comes to accumulations for tonight, those flurries again, maybe a light dusting north and east later on. And now keep in mind, this is a running accumulation you see on the map here, so keep in mind these amounts, and then as I go forward, it'll add on to that as it goes into time. Here's the snow, though, for Wednesday night, early Thursday. It's saying right now 1 to maybe 2 inches in our southern counties, which could put an advisory out, and maybe even a winter storm watch could even come out for eastern Kentucky. So we'll watch that. Then as we head into Thursday night into Friday with the light snow showers, more impressive north, but again, everybody has a chance at maybe a light coating out of this. It looks to be under an inch at this time, depending on what this bad boy here does Wednesday night and how much thunder it can steal from the other system. We'll see how it goes. All right, here's that cold wave. You see them the models will be into Thursday night and Friday. Then I want to talk about the weekend here into next week. The trend for the weekend is to flatten out the flow here for Saturday and Sunday. So it's not going to be a rapid warm-up here for this weekend. We were suspecting that was going to happen, and that's kind of the trend we're seeing here on the midday model runs. So we're not going to surge into the 50s and 60s right away. In fact, we may see a modest warming trend here for the weekend. But the warm air still may happen, but it will be delayed until perhaps next week. You see the push here that develops as we head into Tuesday, and then perhaps even another one that moves in later in the week before the Arctic air it waits for us here to the north and west and moves in. Here's the problem for the weekend and early next week. We're trying to see a change in the jet stream pattern, and the indices are matching this, so it is worth watching. It's trying to take energy and move it down and dig it pretty far here into the southwest part of the United States, all the way through Washington State. Keep in mind, this area has had nothing but a ridge for the past several weeks, which has allowed the flow to come out of the Arctic. We've got some phasing systems that have been moving up the eastern seaboard, the big snow into Boston, yada, yada, yada. Well, with it trying to dig more into here, it creates a trough. And you get an opposite reaction on the other end, which is going to be a ridge. And the PNA does indicate a ridge would likely form in the southeast corner of the country. That would put us in a warm flow regime. Now, there is going to be a battle zone that will set up somewhere in the air. So we've got to figure out where is that zone going to be where we are more influenced either by the ridge, or are we going to feel the effects of the trough that's just to our west. And the models are varying. Some are a little more aggressive, having the ridge protecting us and more warm air. Some are a little more colder in nature, with the trough a little more in control, keeping the ridge more to the south. So the models are going to have fun the next few days balancing that out. So there's no sense in getting caught up on the details. Just know that the forecast is very low confidence for the weekend and especially next week. But it may be a setup here where the pattern has 1, 2, maybe even 3 low pressures that track over the southeast part of the country next week. Now, if that were to happen, it is worth watching because that would be a tremendous amount of rainfall that could move in. And with the frozen ground and the snowpack, you see the problem. All right, let's talk about the Canadian here for the weekend. It's, again, flatter solution here as we into Sunday. It brings in moisture into the area. What is worth watching is that it keeps surface temperatures at or below 32. So that would be a potential for a sleet or freeze and rain scenario for the weekend here, Saturday night and Sunday. We'll watch it because the GFS is similar. It is colder than what it looked yesterday, but it's still warmer than the Canadian, which would still indicate more rain than anything, with highs only in the 30s, though. So chilly rain for the weekend, but at least as long as we get above freezing, keep it at rain, I think everybody will be happy with the weekend. But we'll watch and see how this evolves for the weekend here, because if the cold air is slower to get out and the flatter regime idea keeps coming into play, then we may end up with the first round of this pattern change being frozen for the weekend instead of liquid. So we'll watch that. Otherwise, the GFS I'm showing because it is similar to the other models. It shows how we get one area of low pressure after another that tracks where that battle zone is over and over, and you see the problem here. Heavy rain, yeah, there'll be severe weather potentially to the south. I don't really see that here, but I wouldn't rule out thunder here. But my biggest concern is if this does indeed happen, we are looking at problems with flooding next week. So either we need to hope for the pattern to be more suppressed to where we get more snow, for snow lovers to be happy with that if you want that, or it needs to be less dramatic with the baroclinic zones where the rainfall isn't as intense and we have fewer low pressures tracking through. It's an interesting setup. I just don't have all the answers yet. I can just tell you what models are looking at and kind of give you a heads up that that's something we'll watch for the first week of March. It does show colder air coming in, by the way, after that, but we'll leave that alone for right now. So overall, the pattern's fairly quiet still for this week. We just got to watch that southern system as we head into Wednesday night and Thursday and see how far north that's still going to trend. We got a few flurries rolling in here as we head into Thursday. We'll see about the record cold potential or not for Friday, but overall, our eyes will then focus on the weekend potential, see how that's going to play out, and then next week's several low pressures that potentially can move through. So the weather is far from boring, that's for sure. as we head into March. Buckle up.